Aguko, is that we're going to be bringing you that particular broadcast live come Thursday. And the main question from the 2.73 trillion is, where is the money? Businesses are operating at half-mast, so to speak. So we anticipate that National Treasury will have a hard time actually, just getting these monies, given that KRA has been given, or rather charged with a mandate of collecting up to 1.8 trillion shillings. Will they manage? Question is, where is the money? Now, in last year's budget that culminates on June 30th, the Big Four agenda, housing including, was one of the projects that received overwhelming budgetary allocation. Will this be the case for the fiscal year 2020-2021? While our reporter Benson Rioba put that in perspective, just anticipating, or rather Kiptum also focused on the issue of the health. But now let's focus on the issue of affordable housing with our reporter Benson Rioba.
Housing developers say low uptake of mortgage in Kenya due to the COVID-19 pandemic. To help cushion the industry, players want the National Treasury to give construction companies a one-year tax holiday to help them complete ongoing projects. They say this, coupled with the marginal reduction of taxes on construction materials like cement, steel and iron sheets, to address the challenge of liquidity in the sector and stimulate construction activities, and home loan interest rates reduction will grow the sector post-COVID-19. Elsewhere, Housing Finance Group has completed the first phase of its Clay City project that consists of 83-bedroom apartments along the Thika Superhighway in Nairobi metropolitan area.
And over 80, we have got 80 units here. On this land, this land is over 30 acres. In Kenya, you can actually take part of your pension, to actually finance the home ownership of a house.
Housing Finance Group CEO Robert Kibara says construction of the second phase of the project is set to start and will comprise 800 units of 1 to 3 bedroom apartments.
Now, let's take a look at what's happening in our different counties here within the country and see in brief how they are faring on. And I'd like to start with, which county do I start with? Let's start to Meru County. So in Meru County, Kiratu's war of words with members of parliament escalate. Now, Governor Kiraitu Murungi has hit back at local women representative, that is Kawira Mwangaza, in the ongoing tussle between the two leaders. This comes 2 days after some Meru women leaders asked Honorable Kiraitu Murungi to apologize to the women rep, that is Honorable Mwangaza, and Kenyan women for disrespecting them. This was in response to an incident that took place on June 6th at Baite TV premises, where officers from County Revenue Board clashed with the Member of Parliament and her husband, Murega Baishu, of alleged unpaid broadcasting licenses. Let's head over to Machakos County. Mudama defended over DP ties. Leaders from Ukambani have come out to defend former Machakos Senator Johnson Mudama over accusations of disrespecting Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka. Led by the National Organizing Secretary of Chama cha Uzalendo, Davis Musau, the leaders say accusations directed at Mudama were calculated at denying him Wiper Party ticket. All right, let's head over quickly to Nakuru County. In Nakuru County, we have a story there in regards to how it is faring on. New COVID-19 fears at Inland Port. The governor of Nakuru County, Governor Lee Kinyanjui, now says the recently commissioned Inland Container Depot, that is ICD, in Maimayu, could end up being a center for COVID-19 infections. Barely a week after the facility was opened, Kinyanjui yesterday put residents of Maimayu and Naivasha on high alert. Let's head over to Kajiado County. Lenku wants more cash to fight virus. Governor Joseph Ololenku has said distribution of 5 billion shillings to counties for use in the fight against COVID-19 is inconsistent. Let's head over quickly. Nyamira County. End to water crisis as 31 wells drilled. The residents have a reason to smile after the National Water Harvesting and Storage Authority moved in to end the perennial water crisis by drilling 31 boreholes. Murang'a County, more nut factories to be set up. More macadamia processing plants are likely to be established to handle increased nut production in Murang'a County. And finally, let me touch on Taita Taveta County, where we have proposed Wundani market stalls. The county has announced that the multi-million shilling Wundani market will take a little longer to be implemented. Trade, Industry and Corporate Development Executive Gertrude Shue told the Assembly Committee on Trade that the project was to cost more than 122 million shillings, as indicated in the Bill of Quantities. Proposed Wundani market stalls is going to be postponed because of this. So these are the counties so far on my end.
Now, still keeping up with stories that are making headlines in various counties, how about we start with Nairobi County, where Mata Hospital has been ordered to pay an ex-director 6.5 million. Now, Mata Discona Hospital has been ordered to pay the former director 6.5 million as compensation for unfair termination of his employment. Still keeping up with the counties and crossing over to Kiambu County, that a clergyman has told greedy people not to sell donations of food for people suffering from effects of COVID-19 pandemic. This is according to Pastor Sylvester Achola of the Baptist Church in Parklands, Nairobi. He was speaking in Kiambu County. Now crossing over to the coastal region and heading over to Lamu, where curfew killing Lamu trade and tourism sectors, say investors. Now, stakeholders in the trade and tourism industries in Lamu have appealed to President Uhuru Kenyatta to lift the dusk to dawn curfew in their region. Their argument is that the country has not recorded a single case of coronavirus and hence should be treated as such. But in retrospect is that the tourism sector in that area is suffering. Still keeping up with the counties and crossing over to Malaba border, where Malaba bar owners resort to hawking drinks to beat closure. It is now common to see groups of young people selling alcohol around town as business people grapple with COVID-19 restrictions imposed by the government. Now, the liquor sellers at the border have now resorted to hawking beer as businesses grapple with, the effects of COVID-19. Bar owners say they have been forced to devise new methods of selling to meet their obligations like paying rent and other utilities. Remember that Kenyans were really eagerly waiting to hear what the president has to say on Saturday when some of the directives and measures put in place by the government to stem the spread of COVID-19 were coming to lapse. So we got that information that yes, the curfew remains, but on different timelines. Now, still keeping up with counties, how about we sum up with what we had prepared for you as far as our county report as prepared by Timothy Kipnusu.
Speaking at Manono in Tana Delta Sub-County during the launch of the distribution of relief food to flood victims in Kipini West Ward, Interior Ministry Chief Administrative Secretary Hussein Dado said the area residents have been given first priority because they cannot access essential facilities due to heavy rains.
Ili chakula hii ikiingia isikae kama store kama zamani. Kama chakula nakuja kwa ajili ya watu wa msaada, hakuna ruhusa ya kuwekwa kwa store. Hii sisi tutafuatia na tutahakikisha wananchi mupate.
Elsewhere, the Kenya Forest Service has unearthed an illegal logging syndicate in the North-East region. Scores of suspects are in custody and timber worth millions of shillings impounded.
We were able to get an information that there was a lorry ferrying 77 bags of charcoal all the way from Kakuma in Turkana County, ferrying them, taking them to Nairobi to the market.
In the meantime, about 500 youth drawn from 6 sub-counties of Kitui are benefiting from an ongoing mango farming training.
We have organized the county into clusters in 6 sub-counties: Mwingi Central, Mwingi West, Kitui West, Kitui Central, Miambani, Kitui Rural, and Kitui South, where there is high potential for mango growing.
Elsewhere, Nakuru Governor Lee Kinyanjui has poked holes into the recently commissioned inland container depot in Maimayu, Naivasha, saying it could end up being an epicenter for COVID-19 cases.
Na hivyo basi masharti ambayo serikali imetoa, masharti ya kuoga mikono kila wakati, masharti ya social distance, masharti ya kuvaa mask, lazima itiliwe mkazo na kila mtu.
In another development, Machakos Governor Dr. Alfred Mutua has expressed concerns over the rising numbers of COVID-19 cases in the country. Speaking in his office in Machakos, Dr. Mutua said he fully supports President Uhuru Kenyatta's decision on extend curfew and lockdown in the country.
We think that if we continue with the measures that the President has pushed and we continue being safe for another 1 month, then it will put us in a position to gauge properly what is working and what is not working. Kama hauna karatasi ya kuonyeshana ya kwamba ulipimwa Mombasa and you are negative, hata kuruhusu uingie Machakos County.
Finally, fresh produce farmers in Kinangop, Nyandarua County are crying foul over failure by the government to enforce the 50-kilogram potato packaging rule.
Viazi ni broker, cabbage ni broker, carrot ni broker. Na sasa wananunua vile wanataka. Kwa sababu hakuna wa kupeleka. Sasa ni lazima akikuja hiyo broker akwambia hata ni shilingi 10 utauza tu kwa sababu utapeleka wapi.
Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Timothy Kipnoso.
Important at this point to pull out a fact that all counties are not doing quite well when it comes to how we are using our money. Well, just to sum it all up, all counties, all the 47 counties, gobble up 120.5 billion Kenyan shillings as development gets leavings. Now, the Control of Budget reports show that most counties spend on salaries, personal emoluments, and maintenance and operations. The recurrent expenditure for all the 47 counties gobbled up 120.5 billion shillings in the first 6 months. Take note of that. 6 months of the 2019-2020 financial year. Now, this represents 41.7% of the annual recurrent budget. So for instance, Nairobi County has the highest recurrent expenditure for over 10 billion shillings and only 625 million shillings on development of the 11.1 billion allocated for the period under review. In Kiambu County, we're talking about them spending over 5.5 billion shillings and on recurrent expenditure and 1.1 billion on development. In Kakamega County, we are having 3.4 billion shillings spent on recurrent expenditure and 1.7 billion on development of the total 5.12 billion shillings. So, all counties highlighted there on inside that story. But according to the Controller of Budget, that is Margaret Nyakango, the law requires that at least 30% of the national budget be set aside for development expenditure. So this is how we are doing as a nation. Counties, the development expenditure of all the counties was minimal as salaries, allowances, and operations took the lion's share. Counties now gobbling up 120.5 billion shillings as development gets leaving. That is a cause of concern. Well, time will tell if things will be better. Time will tell. Now, moving on, let's head over to the world of sports. And in sports news, let's touch on why impossible games will be like Diamond League. We have in the athletes arena, we have a lot of excitement await viewers on Thursday when Team Cheruiyot takes on Norwegian brothers. The impossible games meet is set to offer viewers the experience of the 14-leg Diamond League series. Never mind Africa has only one leg of the series, which normally takes place in Marrakech, Morocco. Even so, the so-called big African economies like South Africa have never hosted the Diamond League races, but Kenya will have that chance on Thursday, even though under different circumstances, but still. The meeting to be aired across the world by a Norwegian TV. Why impossible games will be like Diamond League.
Now, Now, still keeping up with sports, is that FKF boss rattled. Aduda tells FKF President Mwendwa to stop hiding under FIFA wings. Now, Mwendwa has been on record insisting that he will not renew his KPL's contract, which is set to expire in September should he retain his seat. Now, he should use a break. He should use the break. We have the right to the many wrongs that he has done touching on the polls. We should use technology and conduct the exercise before the new season begins. Now, quoted there is just one of the club managers, that is Aduda, says, I have heard him say that he does not want to renew KPL's contract, but he's not telling clubs who will manage the competition, the criteria he will use to give them the contract, and how much the clubs will get and other details. FKF issues there, Mwendwa in some sort of a whirlpool there in as far as local sports is concerned. Now, crossing over to the international sporting arena, given the issue of COVID-19, the domino effect has spread its tentacles, even touching on to international sports. And now we're having what we term as impossible games. Yes, many other big names will spice up Thursday's exhibition event dubbed Impossible Games in Norway. Now, the games will also see Team Chariot, made up of Kenyan runners, take to the track to compete in Maury Plant Memorial Race over 2,000 meters from 9:40 p.m. on Thursday night. Now, the 2019 Doha World Championship pole vault bronze medalist Armand Mondo, the plantist from Sweden, will take on Frenchman Renaud Lavinil, his predecessor as a world record holder in their specialty. Our reporter Mwaki was just putting into perspective exactly what the Impossible Games are all about. Remember, in case you missed that particular story and you'd want to catch up on what it means, our website is www.kbc.co.ke.
I don't know if you're a fan of...
Asking me about a team that I support, we should be talking about Gor Mahia. So Barcelona, well, maybe when Ronaldinho was playing, but right now I'm focused on Gor Mahia. So you're saying?
So Gor Mahia, anyway. But if it's not Gor Mahia, then there's not a team to be mentioned.
Oh yes, you can only be loyal to one team, my friend. Ask Arsenal fans, they understand that. They understand what it means to be loyal.
Well, there are unfamiliar homes of Barcelona and real fresh challenge. We have football action that is going on to be happening in Spain. It resumes on Thursday after a 93-day hiatus. Now, this is a quote from Lionel Messi, the man himself. He says, I have missed this place. He said this after stepping onto the Camp Nou grass for the first time in 3 months. But when Barcelona return to action, he knows it will not be the same again. Instead, La Liga's title race will take another step into the unknown as Barca run out into the biggest and now emptiest stadium in Europe after Real Madrid switched to a different home altogether. The La Liga fixtures are also put there, and we have the image there of the one and only Lionel Messi, who trains in Barcelona, Spain, on May 8th. La Liga action resumes this Thursday. So I know many people will be glued to their screen to get to see how these fixtures will run from the beginning to the end. But in other news, in athletics, we have Caster Semenya. The story there is Caster Semenya expecting a baby? There is a politics going on around town. Well, read and find out. Moving on swiftly, we have the EPL teams warm up for a friendly match at stadiums. Playing in empty stadiums is going to become the new norm for footballers, so it's probably best that they start to get used to it. Picture there we have Manchester United sports Paul Pogba, who is fit again, set to play when league returns. Well, that is the story in terms of sports on the Standard newspaper.
Now, just since we are in the mood of sporting this morning, which is a Tuesday, how about we talk about rugby? Away from soccer, is that the 2022 Africa Cup to be used as a qualifier for Rugby World Cup. Now, the Rugby Africa Cup has not been held for the past 2 seasons due to lack of finances and the coronavirus pandemic, but is certain to resume next year. Now, the winner of the Africa Cup will qualify automatically, while the runner-up will be held to a final qualifier with 3 other teams from other confederations. Now, with 12 teams having secured the place at France 2023, courtesy of finishing in the top 3 of their respective pools at RWC 2019, the remaining 8 places will be determined by a process of regional and cross-regional qualifiers. There's a story that has been captured there and quoted in the Star there, and quoted is the head coach Paul Odera, who is on record saying that the cancellation of the Africa Cup this year will make the qualification difficult, considering the event was also cancelled last year due to lack of funds. Rugby lovers, I know one who is called Dennis, and he's ever watching even replays of the HSBC World Rugby Series. Well, this is something to look out for, especially for our local teams in as far as rugby is concerned. Now, crossing over to the world of soccer, and this is international soccer, especially Manchester City fans, is that your team, that happens to be Manchester City, will be attempting to overturn their 2-year UEFA ban from the European football during the 3-day hearing at the Court of Arbitration for Sport in Switzerland that started yesterday. Now, the European Soccer Governing Body, UEFA, ruled in February that City had committed serious breaches of financial fair play and had regulations and failed to cooperate with its investigation, handing them a ban and a 30 million euro fine. 30 million euro fine. But City is a rich club, as we say, when we're talking about who owns what in as far as international soccer is concerned. Also, an interesting story is that now Manchester City Starling backs anti-racism protests in Britain. Now, Sterling has backed the anti-racism protest in Britain after the death of the unarmed black man George Floyd in police custody in Minneapolis. That's a story. We can catch up on what is happening, but we'll also be focusing so much on the impossible games that are supposed to take place on Thursday, which also happens to be budget day at 9:40 p.m. So do keep it right here, but when we return, we're still going to be keeping focus on what is trending. And we employ you, or rather ask you, to keep it here and keep your feedback coming. Our Twitter handle is at KBC Channel 1 TV. Do keep it right here. We'll be right back.
Of the hour, time for our first discussion this morning. Technologies in solving socio-economic issue is our center of discussion. Joining me on set this morning is John Kamara, a tech entrepreneur with over 20 years of experience in the tech industry. He'll be helping us break down that matters to do technology for us this early morning. Thank you so much, John, for making time.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. All right. Over 20 years experience in the tech industry. How has this industry evolved?
I think technology has become the fabric of a mainstay society. And it's difficult to think about any growth or relationship to drive growth without thinking about technology as the core fabric. And across any sector you go to, from health, we're talking about corona, to food, people are delivering food online these days now. If you go to agriculture, people are using technology to solve problems, to predict famine. I can't actually see any sector of the economy that is not driven by technology, and anybody who is not part of that, process, it's going to be very hard for you to keep up with what's about to happen.
All right. So you're saying that anyone who's not part of the process of the evolution of technology, then it becomes difficult for them to keep up with the current trends.
Even my grandmother is now technology focused. She orders her food
Wow, that's
online.
interesting.
and so because she can't leave the house, she's vulnerable. So that's how technology is, managing. She's using more online banking solutions to do some. She never used online banking before because she can't go out. So, and people are learning and they're evolving as well. And human beings have the capacity to adapt and evolve. So that is why technology is such an important part in the mainstay of our current society at the minute.
I like what you're saying, that technology is such a main part in the current state of our society right now. But John, even as you talk about it being very important, what are some of the key new trends that are there in the tech world that even Africa can adopt?
I think, first of all, if you look at health, we're all talking about health right now. So health and technology.
Because of the current pandemic?
COVID. So health and technology have merged. If you look at the FMCG industry, again, the same thing. There's a number of technologies that allow people to solve problems in that space. If you look at the food industry, I mean, all of a sudden, so many different platforms have come up that are now providing us food in real time. Yes. So if you look at sectors that also you'd have never have thought, advertising, for example, it's changed completely purely because of technology. And I think here in Africa, we're adopting technology at a fast pace, almost faster than Europeans, because there's a number of things that we do here at the minute that you actually can't find in Europe.
You think so? We adopt it faster than the Europeans?
I totally think so. I think because we leapfrogged a lot of infrastructure issues. And those infrastructure issues, obviously, they are problems, but because we have access to the mobile phone and we've realized that we have no choice. To build infrastructure is expensive, and we'll continue to try, but to be able to connect with ourselves using technology and accessing the power of this device that we have and other sectors of technology and the amount of data that is existing in Africa, because it didn't exist, so we're coming from ground zero to a place of so much data. Now, what do we do with that? How do we... So I'm of the opinion that we are leapfrogging in terms of the usage of technology. Not necessarily how we manage it, but how we use it. We are leapfrogging the rest of the world.
All right, John, earlier on you had mentioned that, which has probably changed my perspective, and even for the viewers that are watching, that for Africa, we are coming on a bit faster compared to European countries. Maybe you can just break it down for us and make us understand how so.
Okay, so if you think about, let's stay on the health sector, which is an important topic. We're seeing how Africans are beginning to use technology to even solve remote health issues. We're seeing USSD platforms that are solving health problems. We're seeing SMS platforms that are solving health in Europe. That doesn't exist. I mean, people don't even know about, this level of how you solve, telehealth problems using very, very minute micro forms of technology. So that is, and if you also look at how we've also begun to interact between various sectors and the relationship between those sectors. So from fintech, which obviously Africa has become a major driver of, to how that ties back into microinsurance, for example. Again, we're creating new products that the world has never seen before, but it's all because of the access of technology to that individual. So we're able to get to the common Mananji in the village now, because whereas, we can't build all those infrastructures for him, but we can connect with him via a very simple form of technology.
All right. Now, also looking at your profile, you work with different markets, the American market, European market, Asian markets, and even coming down to the African market. How would you compare this, like the first world countries market compared to the African market?
I think the first world, obviously technology advancement, research and development and the ability to push new trends of research is something that we still lack here. To use the technology, we do very well with, but how to research it, how to create and also push ourselves to become creators of that technology. So that is really where we have the big disconnect. We're not, I think slowly we're becoming creators and understanding that we have the power and we have the understanding and we also have the experience and the skills to create a lot of this, but being able to push ourselves to spend time to actually research and come up with new innovations is something that we haven't really invested a lot of our energy and our time in. And also being able to understand the new innovations that are happening and how those impact our lives. So I think that is the difference between the first world, because the ability to, research research, innovate, and create new forms of technology. And for us, we're more consumers and users of those new forms of technology.
Okay.
And that is where I see a lot of the underlying differences.
All right, so from probably now in your perspective, what can we do as an African continent to move past that? Because you've mentioned that creative technology becomes our major problem.
I think it's empowering a lot of the young people who are actually at the forefront, because
empowering is key?
Yeah.
Okay.
Remembering these kids are learning a lot because the world is so connected. Globalization has brought us all so close together. So now that means that they see what their colleagues are doing in different markets, and they also learn a lot of these things. So it's not that they can't do it, but we need to empower them, and also we need to give them the push to understand that to make mistakes is okay. And that's part of what research and development is. To fail is okay, but you need to fail to be able to succeed.
Right.
So just go ahead and do it. So rather than making them be afraid, and because the growth of technology in Africa lies on the young people. Okay. And I work with a lot of young people, and you can see how they want to innovate. But then there's that ceiling of, you can't, it has to come from America, or it has to come from Europe, or somebody has to do it,
You're not smart enough.
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the little bit of disconnect is.
All right. So more of empowering is actually what you are advocating for as a person.
Empowerment, because again, if you look at the structural problems, infrastructure, we don't have enough. We're still building.
Yes.
So that's good. Resources, we might not necessarily have enough. So where do we have a lot? It's brain power. We have capacity. And in that capacity, if we can empower that capacity, we might be able to manage the problem of infrastructure and resources. And that's how I look at the world.
All right. Also, you say that you work a lot with young people, which brings me to my next question, whereby you are an entrepreneur, an investor, a public speaker, a mentor, 20 years experience in the tech industry. You do so many things. How do you juggle all of this together as a person?
I actually have to pay a lot more credit to the young people who work with me, because they're the ones. I just think of an idea and I tell them, guys, can we do this? And because I empower them to think, and I always tell them, try to imagine doing something you've never done before. That means you have to go to a place you've never been to in your mind. So when we come up with a lot of these ideas, and you put it to these young kids and you give them the freedom of thought, which is a very important thing, the freedom of thought, then you find that they're able to expand their own horizon and help me achieve some of those things that you're talking about.
Okay.
So, my role is just bring all the experiences that I've gathered together, to be able to help, figure out how can we, recreate value.
So basically you're saying that the young people that you work with have been very pertinent into the kind of person that you are.
Yes.
All right. Now, you are also actively involved in new technologies such as IoT, artificial intelligence, blockchain. Tell us more about that. What is it? What does it all entail?
So I think one of the things about new smart technologies is how do you use it in real life use cases. And so I got involved in AI a long time ago because I saw the need for how to manage data. And data is a very important part of our lives today, but understanding the value of that data, how to manage it, how to mine it, and how to use it to create better services and use cases for us. So I give you an example here in health right now. We built a platform which is basically using a lot of AI solutions to mine data around health and then create what we call a smarter contact tracing solution for us here in Africa to be able to look at the social dynamic and social cultural issues that we have to then say, can we create a contact tracing or management solution for vulnerable people that is a little bit more in line with our culture? But again, using machine learning, very basic machine learning tools to do that. And the same thing with blockchain. So I think smart technologies itself cannot live without real life use cases. A lot of buzzwords around smart technologies, but you do need to find the relationship that it has with a real life solution before you can actually say what is the value of smart technology in what you're doing.
And that is regards to also the new app that you've created, the contact tracing app.
Yes.
All right. Now, coming back to the socio-economic issues that you also centered on dealing with, ensuring that at least technology helps us to curb some of the socio-economic challenges that we face as an African continent. Maybe you can just tell us, what are some of these challenges?
First of all, poverty is a consistent
socio-economic. It's a key issue.
And unemployment, how to mine the value of resources that we have. lack of research and development. Those are all socioeconomic issues. Being able to create and produce food. Now, if you look at all those issues, there is an underlining where we can actually use technology to manage and recreate value in a number of those, particular issues. So, what I always look at is, where are we at? What innovation can we lay on top of it without creating a dysfunctional ecosystem? And then how can we use that innovation to power people and empower people who are within that society? So there's a number of building blocks when you look at technology. You cannot just look at technology in a silo. You have to understand how technology meets the social cultural issues that we also have in each society or each community. Because if you think about it, a lot of people still live in rural communities.
Yes.
So if you're going to look at technology, how does that technology manage to impact their lives in real time? So we might have to step out of our comfort zone to build new types of technology that in Europe they've never seen, and they will probably never think, well, why are you building this? But it's because of the specific problems that we have
as an African continent.
Yeah.
Okay, and you've mentioned two key issues that I think are very, very important anytime we talk about problems facing the African continent: poverty and unemployment. And I want us to start with unemployment. Just make us understand, how can we use tech to solve that?
I'm a big believer that Africa will survive via SMEs. Small, medium enterprises. That is, to create all these large conglomerates. Even in a decentralized, deglobalized world, I think the SMEs hold the power. And you see a lot of, I work in a startup environment quite a bit, and you see a lot of young people now want to be startup owners across multiple sectors, from health tech to agri-tech to edu-tech, whatever form of technology. But the point is, teaching them that we can, a camel is a long-lasting, is an animal that can just travel the desert for months and months without water. Teaching them that we can create a lot of camel-type SMEs. That's SMEs that can survive, hard terrains and employ people, rather than waiting to create one unicorn company.
Or that are waiting to be employed in a company.
Or rather waiting to be employed or create one big company. We can create multiple micro companies that employ people, that give people the opportunity. And within that, we create an ecosystem where the service is interconnected. Each person has value on the other person. It's almost like a blockchain environment. So I think, SMEs hold the key to unemployment. There is no other way around it.
Wow, that's very interesting to just hear your thoughts concerning the small and medium enterprises that they hold the key to matters unemployment. And John will come to talk about other issues, probably the poverty issues, which is also what you've mentioned, as well as the digital divide. But I want to take a very short break. We'll be coming back with John to help us to explain more of that, as well as just tech in solving socio-economic issues. We take that break. Stay with us.
Tonight on Corner.
I should get ready.
No, wait. She's just young and eager. I will handle this issue.
He has a family. Wangui is his wife.
Please, just stop.
Why am I always accused of every bad thing that happens in this town?
Because maybe you are guilty.
I'm Cyrus.
My God, that's them.
Wow! Ooh, a porch swing. I know what I'm doing this weekend. I can't let go of this.
Oh, grody.
Welcome back. We continue with the show. I'm still with John Kamara, a tech entrepreneur, and he's talking to us about technology in solving socio-economic challenges. Now, John, before we went on break, we had earlier on touched a bit about the contact tracing app. Maybe you can just explain to us in brief, how exactly does it work? How do I get to know, the places where it's hotbed disease, places where there's probably not disease at all?
Okay, thank you very much. Very quickly, what we decided to do was think very logically. To manage any disease, you need to sequence the symptoms, not the human being.
Okay.
And sequencing the symptoms also means symptoms live in locations. If I sneeze, the symptom lives here, even when I move on. So that's where we started our thought processes from. So again, accuracy of data means when the health workers are collecting data, we give them a platform where they can automatically digitize all that information. And as they digitize all the information, so the government, the hospital, the county can sit there and see where all the test cases are in the county in one full view on a beautiful map. And then from there, as the big cases get moved from regular tests to positive cases, they can now see where, again, the location of the positive people. Now, if I have the app, now a government or a county or hospital can create what we call a high-risk location, because we do red, yellow, and green. So a high-risk location being red based on specific parameters around how many people are tested, different types of things. Now you walk in with your app and the government has created a geofence, what we call a virtual ring. You don't know that is a virtual ring. Once you hit the virtual ring, your app goes off and tells you that, hey, you've just entered an extreme high-risk location. You must be careful. You must socially distance. So again, it consistently reminds your mind of all those things that you're doing. So what happens is you're now conscious that Westland is a high-risk location.
Wow.
Because your app just goes off. Because it's a virtual ring.
So it shows you areas that are high risk.
It's a virtual ring.
Areas that you need to avoid.
You don't even know. Yeah. So, but when you leave, we now follow you. We cluster you into yellow. You're now a potential risk. So everywhere else you go, we also look at those locations, and also the organizations can map out those locations. Now everybody else you meet, we can follow those people, but the important thing is the places you go to as well. Even when they extract you from the population, or we look at the people that you've met, those are very basic stuff. But every location you've been to, we can continue to sequence new symptoms and re-quarantine those locations.
Wow, and I think the question that is in my mind, and even the question in any viewer that is watching, is that if there's an app that can actually tell me areas that are high risk, then how can I get access to this app?
Yeah, it's AFIA record.
All right.
So
just
we tested it yesterday with one of the counties we're presenting to, and I was quite happy to say they were extremely surprised.
Yeah.
And they actually said, why haven't you tried that in America? That was the conversation.
Again.
So, again, we can build technology from here that can solve problems anywhere else in the world. And this was built here in Kenya by young Kenyans.
And I think that just brings me back to that conversation which you're having earlier on, whereby we don't always have to wait for the West to build things for us, to innovate things for us. We as Africans, and even as young people, we can do those things by ourselves. No, we can, because if you think about it, here in Africa, if I have an app that tells me you have COVID, there's a whole social cultural issue there, because we're different types of people. In the West, it might work. Somebody's okay to say you've got COVID, and somebody. But here, you might get lynched. Yeah. People might beat you up in villages. They don't. They kill you. Yeah. So why would you? So we think, rather than do that, we can still achieve the same purpose in a much clever way, and even export this form of technology to everybody else around the world. Say, this is a lot better way to also maintain someone's privacy. Exactly. While you're still managing, but more importantly, you're managing locations as well. So you manage locations, you manage symptoms, individual, and you also track everybody else they've been with. I mean, and the last part, which is interesting, we also took the COVID pass that the government has made, we've digitized it. So now border control officers can actually scan it and figure out if it's actually valid or not. Wow. So, if I'm going from Nairobi to Muranga, those police there, they can just scan my pass. And you pull it from the database. And that's it. You don't have to produce physical documents. No, you don't. Or just give them your ID code if you don't have a smartphone. They can just run it, and you get an alert as well that somebody has scanned you. Just like that? So that they don't tell you that, hey, it's not working. I think this is just really interesting, just talking about the app. But moving away from, the app, since you already explained it to us how it works, you also mentioned something about the social cultural issues, which again is just our center of discussion when it comes to technology. And earlier on you had talked about unemployment, and you had made us understand how we can move past that. Let's talk about poverty and technology.
So see, poverty and technology, I think, have a direct correlation. You know, women, for example, there's a ton of women who are doing so many amazing things. And because, you know, the level of technology that is required for them to be able to scale, it's not that much, but it's not very clear in terms of the consistency. Now you find that these people, you know, they do all these manual processes, and you're okay, if I can just layer a little bit of technology, I can alleviate one person from poverty, and that one person can also change the life of another person. And it's a very simple model. Think about savings group, all these women who do savings, for example. And the reason why they do it, they say 50 shillings a month or $100, a group of 30, 40 women. But now, the problem is, if you just apply a little bit of technology there, you can visualize all the money they've saved, right? You can also visualize what you do. You're a soap seller, you're a tomato seller, you're this. Why don't you guys just buy from each other? Because you're already within the same group. But what that technology does, it allows you then to look at the accumulated wealth and realize that we're not actually poor because we're collective. We can actually help ourselves because we can see the accumulated wealth and we can create value for ourselves, and we can use the accumulated group ecosystem to go and actually get more value. So again, when we look at poverty and the way our social dynamics work in Africa, we have a lot of building blocks. We just need to be able to layer different forms of technology at different instances to allow us to then make the right type of decisions and help people a bit better. I mean, I'll leave you with the last example. A friend of mine said me something. She said her mom, for over 20 years, has trained a PhD student, 2 master students, through a savings group.
Wow.
Okay?
Through a savings group.
Through a savings group. Borrow money. Now, that means the mother has probably saved over $1 million, right?
Yeah.
Probably, because 2 of them trade in the US. Yeah. Now, the mom goes to the bank and can never get a loan because she has no digital footprint. But the mom is considered a poor person because she's never really left, but she's not.
She's considered a poor person, yet she has trained 2 students.
And then the mom, and there's so many other women like that. You know, even people who are border drivers that I talk to. So again, it's really understanding how do we layer different, you know, forms of technology to able to create value for people who are actually doing things and create collective ecosystems. And I think, you know, it's not going to solve it overnight, but you take a little chunk at a problem. You know, you take a little bite at it. You get something back.
Just little until
little bite.
Until we get there.
Until you know, we get there.
Well, you know, John, I would have loved us to continue talking about poverty and how tech can help that area, because that's one of the pertinent issues, especially for the African continent. But let's move to something else. Child abuse / child trafficking has really been on the rise, and especially during this time of COVID-19. How can we use tech to curb that, you know, that kind of issue, given the fact that info is just everywhere?
I think that's something that I was talking with somebody, a woman who's been running I work with a lot of women, so I think women are really smart. You know, especially when they get tech, women are so, you know, they're so passionate about it. I work with a lady, she's actually Tanzanian, who basically you know, has built a solution that allows young girls and women to be mentored, but more importantly, allows for management of gender and abuse issues in real time. So if you think about a situation where a child is in Kibera or somewhere, and they don't have access to a lot of technology. First problem is they have no access to real mentors who can actually, you know, show them there is a better form of life to live. And a mentor who's more woman than man, because it's very important. We connect to people who are similar to us.
Exactly.
Now, that same child, if you gave that child a very simple solution where they could become free and anonymous to be able to report issues that they face without being stigmatized by somebody else, and you get help, I think you can use technology to at least begin to understand the levels of problems, help organizations who are trying to solve that problem, and be able to deal with some of those issues in real time. And there's a number of different types of solutions that are coming out now that are allowing, you know, kids, you know, child marriages, you know, social issues, abuse issues, gender inequality issues, but to create anonymity within those people who have those problems, and also to marry them together with organizations who can help them with solving those problems, but also create a value after that to say, not just solving your problem for you or helping you, but let us see how we can now empower you a little bit better. And, you know, when I met this woman and she was building this platform called Toi that allowed you to do that, I was like, wow, okay, that's exciting. I would like to be part of this. Like, even though it's only for women, which is fine, but how can we help you?
Okay, and I like what you're saying, because when you look at this socio-economic issues such as the one we've just talked about, unemployment, poverty, child abuse, and really explaining to us how we can use tech to curb these issues. But there's still a singular problem that is still very, very pertinent that we need to address: the digital divide. What do we need to do to break that? Digital divide. It's a buzzword. Okay, let's break it down for 1 second. Everybody can use WhatsApp, right? Even the person in the village. That means they're connected into that digital divide. And that's the way I always start my conversation. WhatsApp says about 80-90% of people in Kenya use WhatsApp to communicate, to set up groups. So that means they are connected to that digital divide. The problem is, how do we understand the level of help they require? So I wouldn't call a divide is something that means there's two sides of the equation. I live in Nairobi, I can access this. You live in Kitale or whatever, Lamu, you can't access this. But I can speak to you on WhatsApp, and that's the way I always start my conversation with. So the digital divide, the problem around that is infrastructure. We need to get, more data centers that allow people to access. We need to be able to get a more connected infrastructure for Wi-Fi, for people to be able to access. We need to make it cheaper. We need to make it more affordable. I was in the Masai Mara recently in January before all this started, and I had Wi-Fi. I could access. In that area?
In that area, but it was expensive. And that is the digital divide. Okay,
so it's not the fact that you can't access it, the fact that probably, having the means is the challenge. The cost, the affordability is really the challenge. And that's where government plays a very important role. Okay. Also, John, just as we draw the conversation to a close due to the interest of time, you've really been spending so much of your time working with young, upcoming entrepreneurs in the tech industry. How has it been? Very briefly.
I have to say the only way to stay young is to hang out with young people.
That's interesting.
That is how it's been. That's what I'm going to leave you with. Okay. The only way to stay young, and it's also young of mine, because these guys come up with solutions that I can't even think about. My job is just to guide, to help, and to innovate, allow them to innovate what we're doing, and then to be able to bring it to time. So the only way to stay young
is to work with young people.
Is to young and act young.
And act young. I think that's a better place to leave it this morning, John. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for making us understand how we can use tech to solve socio-economic challenges. Nashukuru.
Thank you very much.
All right, so I've been speaking to John Kamara, a tech entrepreneur, making us understand how we can use technology in solving socio-economic issues. And he just finishes by saying that the best way to stay young is to work with young people. Ram, what do you have for us?
Well, just one question here by at Felix Anan. He's saying, well and good. My quiz is, how is the government prepared to couple with the technology for it to be efficient, for reaching out and every needs of our every needs of our Kenyan citizen? That is a question that has been put there by at Felix Anan.
John can answer that for us.
I think the government is trying because we've come from a long place of structural problems. The government is working with private sector to be able to solve some of this problem, and it's not going to happen overnight. So what we need to do is get the government to understand a lot more innovations that are happening in the private sector that they can adopt to help speed this process.
Okay.
And I think that's where, government and private sector really need to spend a lot of time, brainstorming, but more importantly, acting on specific solutions that some great private sector people have developed solutions that actually bridge this gap. It's just how do they scale it?
All right, Ram?
All right, so let's now sample just a few of your feedback coming in through our social media platforms. Remember, at Ramagogo is the Twitter handle, at Dorina Range, at Jane Amboy, at Ray Manyara, and at Jane Wamboi. Well, the hashtag is Good Morning Kenya. That is the Twitter handle. Let me just sample a few of your tweets here. I just read there by Felix Anand. Thank you very much, Felix, for giving us your thoughts on this. I'm seeing at Kevin Otema also tuned in, watching us live. Let me head over to Facebook and see what people are saying on the social media platforms. Remember, we are live on Facebook, all right? So on Facebook, let me head over to that post that has been put there by our viewer there. We have Antipas Makwan Malu, anasema watching from South Sudan. Mansour Ali Mansour anasema watching from Hola in Tana River County. Thank you very much for keeping it KBC. All right, let's head over to Twitter. The hashtag is Good Morning Kenya. I also saw a few tweets by a few of our members here watching us live from different places. I want to appreciate also, all right, I want to appreciate also Kevin. I saw a tweet by Kevin. I also saw a tweet by Andrew. Thank you very much, Andrew, for keeping your tweets or your comments coming in. Let me refresh that. Remember, we are live on Facebook. The hashtag, as always, is Good Morning Kenya. On Twitter, at KBC Channel 1 is the social media platform that we are using currently. Okay, so let me click on this. All right, let me click on that so that you can be able to see how it is. A few of your tweets coming through. At Aizo, this is Aizo Yulem Trigger, and I'm watching from Thika. That is Aizo, and I'm watching from Thika. All right. There's still so many tweets so many comments that are coming through that we cannot be able to sample even as we continue with this morning conversation right here on Good Morning Kenya. But I would like we will be sampling them up even as we continue with this morning conversation. Remember, we value your feedback. We are live on Facebook, so if at all you cannot be able to catch these conversations from the comfort of your living room, you can catch them from the comfort of whichever place that you are in, whether you're traveling, whether you're moving from one place to another, whether you're coming into your workplaces. Remember, we are live on Facebook and on our website, www.kbc.co.ke.
Feedback. You're still keeping up with matters tech and innovation. We move to our next discussion this morning. Our center of discussion will be on technology and the health sector. Joining me on set is Oscar Kithinji, the General Manager, Business Development at Medbook Kenya Health Management, to help us understand about technology and the health sector. Thank you so much, Oscar, for making time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's start with Medbook Kenya Limited. Tell us more. What is it? What is it all about?
Well, the idea, Doreen, is very simple.
Yes.
The company started in the year 2014, and the idea was to digitize medical records. So think about the last time you went to hospital and you got a diagnosis and you had to go for another second opinion. So moving from one doctor to the next, probably you can't remember the test that was done by the first doctor. You can't remember the diagnosis you got from the first doctor. So the second doctor has to start all over again. And so that was some of the reasons that we got that people are experiencing these problems. So in the year 2014, we came up with the Medbook platform. Okay? So this is an app whereby you can now link the patients to the doctors. And for every interaction between the patient and the doctor, there's an electronic medical record that is generated. So the idea is to ensure that each and every patient, as they move from doctor to doctor, they would always keep their electronic medical record.
Right, so basically the challenge that you saw fit to start this up was that idea of moving from doctor to doctor that you wanted to do away with?
Yes, and the idea that we were to ensure that patients are getting their electronic medical records and patients are getting access to qualified doctors. So when on the platform, we are able to onboard more than 1,000 doctors, and the app
That's
is
quite a huge number.
Very huge, and the app is linked to the Kenya Medical Practitioner Dentists Union and the Pharmacy and Poisons Board. That's to ensure that each and every doctor that is on board on the platform, first of all, is a registered doctor to ensure that we're not getting quacks on the platform, and secondly, is in good standing with the board. So that ensures that should a doctor encounter, should there be any malpractice, the doctor is being dropped out from the platform.
All right. So maybe just help us understand, and also for the benefit of our viewers who may have heard about this app and doesn't know how it works. How exactly does it work?
Okay. So you go on Google Play Store or Android or iOS, and you're able to download the app. And from the app, you're able to we're able to register, and the app is able to capture all your details. And when you're onboarded on the app, as a patient, you're able to search for any particular doctor that you'd want. So you might want to search for gynecology, for a pediatrician, for a heart doctor, and the app is able to give you the nearest doctor close to your proximity.
Okay, you had also mentioned earlier on that you are able at least to decipher between a legit doctor and a quack. So do these doctors submit their papers for you to know that you know that this now is a legit doctor, this is probably not?
Okay, so during registration, each doctor in Kenya has a unique registration number from the board, and the system is able to run an API to ensure that the number that you're providing, the name that is on your registration certificate, matches with the number that you've registered with, and run an API to the particular board to ensure you're still in good standing with the particular board.
All right, and what about patients? Let's say, for instance, I'm a patient, I want to register on the app. How is the process for me?
Okay, pretty easy. Download the app, and you're able to put your details, and from there, the app has now your details, and will now link to you to any doctor that you'd want in the country.
So it's just downloading the app and filling up details, and then that's it?
Yes. Now, advantage to the second point is whereby after we are able to come up with a platform and the app for the patient and the doctors came back to us and told us,
yes,
how do we ensure that the practices that we run are well managed? Because remember, doctors are not marketing people, doctors are not finance people, doctors just want to simply treat patients. And that's when we came up with with the other software called MediHealth. With the MediHealth platform, doctors are now able to manage and automate their clinics, their hospitals, their dispensaries. So it starts the whole process from reception to triage, the electronic medical record, the laboratory, pharmacy, radiology, and pharmacy.
Okay, so at least it's a good platform for patients to be able to have access to doctors.
Yes.
Okay, now you said that you have been running since 2014, and that's like 6 years down. How has it been?
Very well. Initially, the first years, it was very hard to convince people that all these things can be done with tech. Okay, so the idea that people can now go, the uptake was a bit slow, but now it has picked up very well. Let me give you an example. In the times that we're living in terms of COVID, we've come up with solutions to ensure that this now app and this platform is able to really serve people in the society. You'd notice that in so many hospitals and in so many clinics, there's been a reduction of footfall because people are afraid to go to hospital because for some weird reason they feel that they will get COVID waiting at the reception of this particular doctor.
Yes.
So in the MediHealth platform, we first of all come with telemedicine. So with telemedicine, the doctor and the patient can now have an interaction without physically meeting. And from the platform, the doctor is able to do a prescription, and the doctor is also able to link this particular patient with a pharmacy that can deliver medicine to this particular patient. More to that, for those ailments or those diseases where there has to be a physical interaction, there is appointment booking, such that on the platform, the patient is able to pick a slot that they want to see the doctor. So let's say the doctor will give us that their slots are 8 to 9, 9 to 10, and so forth. So when, Doreen, you pick 8 to 9, it gets grayed out. I can only pick 9 to 10. So that means
that the next patient who comes in on the app, they can only pick the time that's available.
Exactly. Okay. So what does that do? That really helps to ensure that when you go to hospital, there is no queuing. You only get to hospital, see the doctor, and leave. So that eliminates the idea that people can actually probably get an infection on the queuing system.
Right. You also mentioned something about a physical meeting, whereby, in the other conventional kind of hospital, I have to go there, queue, make a line, then I have to see my doctor physically, like one-on-one, the way we are. But on this other side, this is an online platform. Yeah. How does a patient still ensure that they have that physical touch or that one-on-one with a doctor?
Okay. So remember, first of all, it can work in two ways.
Yeah.
And we ensure that that the patient, the doctor is seeing, they've had a prior interaction with. Okay. So this is a doctor who's been running the solution in his clinic and has a list of their patients. So depending on the initial chat between the patient and the doctor, remember, you as a patient, you cannot diagnose yourself. You cannot determine is this serious or not. So it is the doctor who is a qualified medical practitioner who can actually advise, for this, I can prescribe this kind of medicine. For this, it's a bit serious. I need to have a physical interaction. I need to see you. I need to do some tests. But more to that, on the platform, in the next stage, we are also incorporating sample collection. So if the doctor needs to do a test on you, they do not have to meet you physically. They can now liaise with independent labs who are running our application and now send someone to collect the samples and so forth.
All right, so you're still saying that still saying that there's still an avenue to meet a doctor physically.
Yes.
All right, and there's still the other option for the online platform.
Yes.
All right. Now coming to something a bit different, the aspect of safety, because anytime we talk about online platform in whatever capacity, there's always that issue of how safe are my records there, how safe are my documents there. Which guidelines have you put in place for that?
First of all, the system has HIPAA compliance. HIPAA compliance stands for Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Account. These are world-class standards. These are not just Kenyan standards. This is how health apps should operate in Kenya, in Africa, in Europe, and the rest of the world. So there are guidelines in terms of health matters. So the only person who can give another doctor your medical information is you. So at the end of
that's only the patient.
Yes.
Right.
So the patient gets to maintain his own medical records. And should the patient now change from one doctor to the other, it is upon the patient to give the other doctor his medical records.
All right. Now, have you had any cases where a patient would say that my documents were here, my med reports were here, but I just don't know what is happening? You know, it's like a different person has had access to it.
No. The kind of encryption on the app, the kind of encryption on the MediHealth system is top-notch.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Now, have you rolled out this system in different parts of the country, and if you have, which parts?
Okay. So the MediHealth system, the app is available everywhere, and it has been taken by so many people. The MediHealth hospital management system is currently in use in over 500 facilities in all counties in Kenya. Yes.
Wow. So that's over 500 facilities.
Yes.
Which facilities are this?
So here we have Riverdale Clinic in Lavington. We have Bliss Clinics. We have Medicross. We have a number of clinics all around the country.
All right. And so are you planning to do a rollout in probably parts of the country, or even counties that you haven't yet rolled out?
Yes.
Which parts?
In our marketing strategy, we'll have activations, and the activations help us to ensure that patients more likely are able to feel safe in using an app and getting information using technology. So we have planned, there was a bit of COVID and a bit of things went a bit slow. So we are planning to roll out in more countries. But so far, we have a clinic in every country in Kenya.
Now, Oscar, in areas where you've done the rollout, probably what are the challenges that you've experienced while doing the rollout?
One major challenge will be the fear. The fear that your medical records will be out there.
The same thing we were talking about earlier?
Exactly. But there's no fear. Okay. Remember, you maintain your own medical record. So the idea from the founders of MedBook was to digitize medical records, so that we take away the idea that your medical records could be at MP Shah, Aga Khan, and spread out all over all hospitals. But now what we've changed is that each and every person will be working with their own medical records. So that was a bit of slow uptick there, but these are just changing trends, and people have been now accustomed to it.
All right. Now, in areas where you have done the rollout, what has been the reception like?
Very good, very good. I'll give you a personal experience. I used to take my wife for her gynecology visits, and I would always insist that please book an appointment before you go there, so that I don't spend my whole afternoon there. Okay, and especially when she's about to deliver and I'm checking her. And so when you get there, there's usually a long queue whereby other mothers are waiting to see the doctor. And the doctor at that time probably is at MP Shah Hospital, Aga Khan, performing a surgery. So there's no communication between the doctor, the receptionist, and the patient. So with the uptake of the app and with the uptake of the system, I've personally seen whereby my wife can book an appointment from home, and since she's seen the gynae at 10 to 11, get there at 9:59, and walks in and walks out within the same hour. So that saves a lot on time. And should the doctor also be at Mpisha and the surgery takes long, the doctor also has an app, and she can tell the patient, kindly add me some 30 minutes, I'm running late. So there's a lot of efficiency and happy patients.
So this is one of the positive things that have come off from this app.
Yes.
All right. Now tell us about Mediclaim, one of the products that you have at MedBook.
Okay.
How does it work? What is it all about?
Okay. So it's simple, really. So once we, on stage 1, where we had an interaction between the patient and the doctor, and stage 2, we had the MediHealth system, whereby doctors could now run their clinics. We realized that at the end of the day, doctors were getting frustrated. So Doreen and Oscar have gone to hospital, they've incurred a bill, and the doctor has to claim back from the insurance company.
Yeah, because the patient is not able to pay for it?
No, actually no, because the patient is using insurance.
Okay.
So the patient is not paying cash, he or she uses insurance, and at the end of the month, the doctor has to claim, or the facility has to claim from the insurance company. So the insurance company has a bit of stringent rules. We'd like to see the invoice, we'd like to see the date and all those things. So we create another platform called Mediclaim. So on the Mediclaim platform, which is integrated with the MediHealth system, the doctors can now easily just claim at the end of the day to the insurance company. And as I was telling you, doctors are not finance people, they're not marketing people. They just want to treat their patients. So we make it easy for the doctor and the facility to just claim, upload all the documents electronically again to the insurance company, and the insurance company just has to verify and pay the doctor.
So this means that the doctor doesn't have to follow up with that insurance company, as it were?
Yes.
Which is
a big headache. If you'd ask most doctors in this country, getting your money from the insurance company is a headache. But it's just because the insurance as an industry has strict rules and also has, this is a procedure to follow. So we make it easy for the doctor to follow those procedures. Instead that at the click of a button, they can click and say, I saw Oscar, I saw Doreen, and this is the money I'm claiming back from the insurer. So remember, there are also things called pre-authorization. You've gone to hospital, and the doctor has to get a pre-authorization from the insurance company. So if that is done at a click of a button, that eliminates fraud, saves time, and saves your life.
Wow, technology really the way to go right now. But also there's something else that you are developing. This is a future app called Flora.
Good.
Tell us more.
Very interested about that. So Flora is an app to dealing with sexual reproductive health. We see that most people in this country, most people in Africa are growing up and they don't have access to the right information in terms of the sexual matters. So we are developing an app that we're launching at the end of June. And in the app, we've already onboarded gynecologists and psychologists. Okay. So these are young women and young men who would want information about sexual reproductive health. And instead of asking their peers who might lead them in the wrong way, they now have access to qualified doctor and a qualified psychologist. So what does that tell you? We're going to grow up our society with the right kind of information and make them good human beings.
Okay, tell us, what was the major challenge that made you see fit to develop such an app?
The issue was, personally, even I growing up, in terms of sexual reproductive health, first of all, I got the wrong information because I could only get it from my friends. Always afraid to ask your parents.
Exactly.
Secondly, I got an information that was bordered on stigma. Okay, so I was getting the wrong information and scaring information. So even in terms of matters of sexual reproductive health, I was misled. So sitting down in the office with the techies, with the marketing team, and with the doctors, we thought about, why don't we create an app such that a young lady, a young man, and even an older woman who'd want information about their sexual reproductive health, if they can go into an app, and the same app will also track their fertility and give them information on health matters, wouldn't that be wonderful? Yeah.
Well, and I love the fact that it's going to cater for all genders, because oftentimes you have the apps that just caters for women, young women, older women, but at least this one will cater for both genders, both male and female. Yeah, right?
Yes.
Okay, now tell us, how are you planning to do a rollout for this new app about matters to do with sexual reproductivity?
Okay. So we've already finished on onboarding the relevant health professionals, and so the next step is now to go out there, activations, spread the message, get guys to download the app, and at the end of the day, tell them it's a safe app, your information is safe, and you'll have access to top doctors in Kenya at the click of a button. Yeah.
You've said that your next step is to go out there, pass information to people. When you say go out there, which areas are you planning to first start targeting?
Okay, so we'll start with the counties of Kiambu, Nakuru, and Nairobi. That is where we'll start. Then, because some of these things and some of the strategies have been slowed down because of COVID, the idea is to go all out so that you can have an app that will be used to all young people, all ladies, all men in Kenya. Okay,
Nairobi could be understandable because we are in Nairobi, but why start with Kiambu and Nakuru?
Data. So at the end of the day, the company relies on data, and some of these counties are the ones that have found that people are a bit more techno-savvy. Also, people are also asking for the right kind of information. People are lacking some bit of information. People are more likely to adapt it, because at the end of the day, we want the first adapters, then we can roll out to the rest.
All right, I think that makes a lot of sense. But also in terms of matters digital sensitization, do you do any of that? Because yes, there could be an app here. I've been told how it works, but I don't even know how exactly to go access it. Do you do digital sensitization?
Good. Just before COVID, so all these 500 clinics that are using the MediHealth system, we not only give you the solution, but we work with you. So it's a journey process, it's a customer relationship. So we are at your clinic, and every patient that comes to your clinic, there'll always be somebody there taking somebody on how to download the app and how the idea of electronic medical records works. Because remember, at the end of the day, the doctor, as I keep saying, is not a finance person or a marketing person. So we have our own staff that will stay there to educate both the patients and the doctors. And we've also partnered with KPMDU, so we engage them in other forums, we talk to their doctors, and we tell people about electronic medical records.
All right. Oscar, also as you talk about the fact that yes, you do digital sensitization and you work hand in hand with the patient, but do you get to also do this in the marginalized places like the informal setups and even the rural areas?
Yes.
How has it been like?
A bit tough, to be honest.
I can imagine.
And this you'll realize when you have any application. Some people in the rural areas will always be afraid. And why are you telling me to give you my records electronically?
Exactly.
Where are you going to take these records?
What do you want to do with them?
What do you want to do with the records? But the idea is to ensure that I'm telling this lady in the village, I'd want you to keep your own records, such that when you walk from one doctor to the other, you don't start the story all over again. You're not subjected to other tests that the first doctor had already subjected to. You're not subjected to other scans, other x-rays that the first doctor has already done. So what does that help you with? It helps you that there's no longer be an issue of misdiagnosis. You'll be able to get faster medical care. You'll save time, you'll save money. So the idea sometimes becomes involving community leaders and talking to them and helping us to pass the message to people in the village.
So community leaders are very, very important and key?
Very important, especially in this country.
Okay.
So you might come with a very fantastic app, a very fantastic technology, but if you do not have linkages in the society and in the community, you're lost. So you need to involve the community leaders, because how someone views the app in Nairobi and in Nyamira is totally different. Okay.
All right. And Oscar, that just brings me to my next question, which just in regards to what you've said, is it a point where we need to start focusing on having community health volunteers or community leaders, because they act as a good linkage in terms of passing information?
Very important.
Okay.
Very important in terms of cultural practices.
Because cultures differ?
Cultures differ, and even in terms of matter of sexual reproductive health. In my community and another community, that will be a very different discussions. But at the end of the day, our solutions are fully customizable, so we can tweak it to apply to a different scenario. Because at the end of the day, our aim is to ensure that every person is getting an electronic medical record. So how we go about it is will be different from different areas. So there will be partnerships, there will be linkages, but at the end of the day, the patients gets to benefit.
All right. So community health volunteers are very important and key in our society, especially coming down to Kenya.
Yes.
All right. Now, Oscar, how has the tech industry or even technology helped the healthcare system coming down here to Kenya or even Africa as a whole?
A lot. I like to sum it out in one word. And the word is let each and every professional concentrate on their good in. So the doctors are good in treating patients, okay? And techies create systems. So let's not make doctors become marketing people or become techies or become receptionists, because imagine your doctor is performing a surgery and you're there calling and booking an appointment.
Yeah.
So the doctor stops doing what they're good in and starts doing administrative stuff. So if MedBook can come and give you a solution whereby it makes it easy for the doctor to run his practice, it makes it easy for pharmacists to run their chemists, it makes it easy for patients to have access to doctors, I think we are now changing the world. So that's where tech comes in. We figure out what are the pain points for doctors, patients, and other medical professionals, and we provide for them a solution that is easy to use, fully customizable, a Kenyan solution, safe, and also approved by the relevant bodies.
So in your perspective, are you saying that this is an area we need to now start moving towards to very fast? This is the tech world, especially when it comes to matters to do with healthcare.
This is the way. This is the way to go. So we in all our clinics, we've done away with prescriptions. Remember when you used to go to
This
a
is the
doctor?
physical papers?
Yeah, the physical paper. The doctor writes a prescription, which you cannot read. Okay. So nowadays everything is online. So you get
Which you cannot read.
Yes, yes. So at the end of the day, it's an online prescription, and with the online prescription, you can move it with it on your phone, go to a pharmacy, and get the necessary drugs. So this is the future. Everything should be online. There should not be paperwork.
Yeah, and I like what you've said, that, you know, going to the doctor writing for your prescription, which you can't read because oftentimes their handwritings become very invisible. So again, this is one of the things that, you know, app and technology is at least doing away with.
Yes.
And helping people to better understand their conditions, because online you can clearly read.
Yes.
All right.
You can clearly read. You can always refer back that 2 months ago I went to Dr. X. This is a prescription I got. This was my diagnosis. Okay. So as I'm going for a second opinion, if I need one, I can always refer back to this. Because how many times have you gone to hospital and at the end of the day, you go back to your spouse or your significant other, and you can't even remember.
What did he say?
What
was
say?
this?
Okay.
I just had a very big word and I can't even understand what it means.
You can't understand it. You got a prescription, lost it on your way. Okay.
Or you got a prescription, probably it's a wrong one. You want to seek another opinion.
Exactly. Now think about this. You got a prescription. It's online. It's linked to a pharmacy, and the pharmacy can deliver the drugs to you at home.
Wow.
That is the future.
That is the future.
Let me give you another. At Riverdale Clinic in Lavington.
Yes.
There was
that's one of the places you've rolled out?
Yes, so that is one of the clinics in Nairobi that are using the MediHealth system. We found that mothers were afraid of taking their kids for vaccinations. So the clinic called us in. We had a discussion and we figured out one of the things is that mothers were very scared. They don't take Toto there because they're afraid during the queue, the kid will get probably COVID.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, this is during this time.
So during this time. Then mothers, remember when they take their kids for vaccination, they go with a book. So remember the book?
Yes.
So in that book, the nurse has to draw a graph.
And every time you keep taking the baby, you always have to carry the book.
Then there's one thing that mothers in this country fear. Going to a doctor and the doctor asks, where's your book?
Because they won't attend to you.
Oh, yes. I probably you've lost the book or you've forgotten it at home. So why don't you have that on the app?
Exactly.
So that the mother is always working with, remember it's a plot of X and Y's. The mother is always working with the graph and showing the progress of the baby. And the app can tell you, is the baby underweight? Is the baby lacking some nutrients? Has the baby gotten BCG? Has the baby gotten polio? And the app, remember, is reminding you, hey Doreen, your baby is due for a vaccination next week on Tuesday. Okay? And in terms of COVID, why can't the nurse carry a cooler box with the vaccination and go to attend to the patient at home? Remember, all this is appointment booking. So that even removes the idea of that the mother has to go to the clinic. But the health professional is still doing his job.
All right. Thank you very much, Oscar. You really explained to us in great detail how, tech can be used in the health sector, making us understand how important it is for us to move in the, in the matters to do with technology, especially when it comes to the health sector. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. So that has been Oscar Githinji, the General Manager, Business Development at MedBook, talking to us about matters to do with technology in the health sector. Ram.
All right, we now shift our gears now to the next discussion of the day, and let's talk about matters concerning health this morning. Now, yesterday we had a report on the COVID-19 crisis here in the country, and in that report there is one thing that also stood out that we shall clarify, that we shall highlight today. 3 health workers are among the 95 new confirmed COVID-19 cases that were reported yesterday. Now, these 3 workers are from Nyeri County, and this just puts light into the discussion, what is the welfare of our health workers so far. Now, the Kenya Medical and Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union has called for a desire. They want more workers to be employed to handle the surge in the COVID-19 confirmed cases at the community level. Now, the union claims that the health sector has a shortage of more than 600 doctors, 1,000 nurses, 360 clinical officers, and 572 laboratory personnel. But first, take a look at this.
The surge on coronavirus confirmed cases is now shifting focus on how the country is prepared to handle the infections at the community level. So far, 84 health workers across the country are among patients suffering from COVID-19.
Nairobi has 31, Mombasa 41, Kiambu so far 4, and the counties of Kitui, Machakos, Laikipia, and Kajiado have reported 1 each as we speak.
The Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union Secretary General Dr. Chibanzi Mwachonda says 60% of the infections among medics are workplace related. Majority of the health workers are said to have contracted coronavirus at quarantine centers and hospitals after coming into contact with infected patients. The union says for the country to optimally combat the diseases, it will require more soldiers on the ground, and as a matter of urgency, additional healthcare personnel must be employed.
We have the projections that each 300-bed facility will require in terms of human resources for health. 636 doctors, 1,000 nurses, 360 clinical officers, 572 laboratory personnel, among other personnel.
There's already a 5 billion conditional grant that has already gone to the counties. The question is, what have they done?
Now, that is a story by our very own reporter Irene Mchuma Odim, bringing us to the discussion this morning. I'm joined live by the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union Acting Secretary General, that is Dr. Chibanzi Mwachonda. Good morning, Daktari. Hope you're well this fine Tuesday morning. Now, let's first of all start with the comments that you gave this morning, talking about lack of sufficient workers, medical personnel, and lack of sufficient equipment. Please highlight in regards to that.
Yeah, good morning. I hope you're well too. So basically, just to correct you, I heard you say that we have a shortage of 600 doctors, 1,000 nurses. What we put out clearly yesterday was that yes, there's a directive to set up 300-bed facilities in the counties. So for each 300-bed facility, that is the number required.
Sorry for that. We are coming to you. We are coming to you in a bit as we look into that connection with you right now. Remember, the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Pharmacists and Dentists Union had given their thoughts yesterday in regards to the COVID-19 pandemic, the crisis that we are having so far, concerns about the welfare of our health workers. How far are we when it comes to giving them the medical equipment that they need? Remember, 3 workers were yesterday reported who are amongst the COVID-19 cases that are reported, standing at 95, 3 among them coming from Nyeri County, and these are all health workers, putting into question, are our health workers safe? Are they protected? Are they also regarded when it comes to this COVID-19 crisis? Now, let me take you to the international scene. When it comes to the health workers, the International Council of Nurses, they said that thousands of nurses have been infected with COVID-19, and hundreds have already died. But many governments so far are unable to give the exact number. They say that they don't know exactly how many we have in terms of the health workers that are, and these governments are not collecting this data. They are unable to say exactly how many. No data is there, putting into question what next. When a health worker is put on the front line when it comes to fighting this COVID-19, is their safety also being considered? Well, we'll value your feedback. Make sure that you give us your thoughts as you continue with this conversation. At KBC Channel 1 is the official station handle, at Ramaguko, at Jane Omboy, at Dorina Range, and at Ray Manyara. So Dr. Mwachonda, picking it up from where you left. Dr. Mwachonda? All right, we cannot be able to get a hold of him. Sorry for that technical glitch there. Network issues getting into contact with him. Remember, he's joining us live right here within Nairobi, the capital city of Kenya, giving us his take in regards to the welfare of our health workers this morning. So we shall be talking about the equipment, how they're handling medical equipment. Is it provided for them when it comes to the working conditions? Are there proper working conditions for our health workers, our nurses, our doctors, our lab technicians, when it comes to even those who are working as clinical officers? How far are we? Shortages of 636 doctors is what the union says we have so far. We have a shortage of 1,000 nurses, 360 clinical officers, 572 laboratory personnel, but how far are we when it comes to that? So my director, I don't know, do we have him or now? Is he ready? All right, I'm told he is ready. So Dr. Mwachonda, sorry for that network problem. Let's continue from where you left. So paint us a picture in regards to how we are so far and the complaint that you are raising to Kenyans.
I hope you can hear me clearly now.
Sorry, Dr. Mwachonda.
What I was saying, and I'd like to correct you, is that there is a directive, and tomorrow there's going to be a meeting at the summit level between the governors and the president to see on how they can actualize the 300-bed facilities in each and every county. So the numbers that you're quoting, the 636 doctors, the 1,000 nurses, those are numbers that will be required for each 300-bed facility in terms of them working around the clock 24 hours and in shifts and in teams of 4. So let me correct you that is not the actual shortage of personnel we have in the country. So what we are saying is that as they're setting up the infrastructure to sort out and to be able to combat COVID-19, equally, the human resource component needs to be factored in. And those are the numbers we're saying for each of that. That's a total of 2,500 healthcare personnel for each of the 300 county facility. So basically, that's a number that we have proposed, and that needs to be looked into and funds be set aside to ensure that we are fully prepared to combat COVID-19 from a human resource aspect. Actually, our numbers in the country, as we speak, has never achieved the WHO recommended ratios for healthcare workers. We still have a shortage, and that has affected service delivery in so many components. But moving forward is that the COVID-19 facilities should actually have separate workers from those sorting out Kenyans in terms of the normal illnesses that come. Mothers who are coming in to deliver, children who are coming in sick, Kenyans who are coming in sick, needing surgical services, medical services. That workforce should be separate for the two to run efficiently and to be able to sort out and combat COVID-19 effectively.
Dr. Mwachonda, you've highlighted those so far. Now, I would like you to maybe give us, in terms of the infections that are there, with the 3 cases that we received yesterday being in Nyeri County, what are your thoughts in regards to how we can combat and reduce these cases that are these cases of infections to our COVID-19 health workers?
Yeah, so basically this is the point that, and that's what we have been insisting, that we have for provision of PPEs, we are talking of 3 levels of PPEs. One is those who are seeing COVID-19 patients in isolation treatment centers, and these require a full kit PPE. Then 2 is those in the high-risk areas in the hospitals, those working in active and emergency, those working in theaters. So basically the third now is those who are screening in the triage centers, in the facilities, those who are screening patients as they come into the facilities and separating them from those who have, between those who have respiratory complaints and those who do not have respiratory complaints. So the PPEs that are inadequate so far as we speak is mostly in the level 2 and level 1 areas where that is of care, and that means that you come into contact with a patient who has not yet been confirmed positive, but they are suspects, or perhaps they have the COVID, but they've not been tested and a result come out. So because you do not have the adequate PPEs, you interact with this patient, and then the result is that the patient later turns positive and the healthcare worker turns positive. That is the case that as we speak on the ground. So the provision of PPEs needs to adequately now shift focus from the COVID centers and expand it now to the high-risk zones in the facility to be able to cover health workers effectively. And we know that there are efforts to ensure that there is adequate PPEs provision, and we hope that we actually are pushing and advocating that this should be done in the shortest time possible, because at the end of the day, the health workers are the ones required to actually cater for these patients. And if our healthcare workers are affected, then we will not have the requisite human resource to be able to combat and be able to combat COVID-19 and to be able to offer care to Kenyans.
Are given to the health workers, then all will be well.
We hope so. That is one aspect. Of course, there's the issue of welfare for the health workers. There's the issue of accommodation to minimize infection. There's the issue of health workers' incentives, and we know that the president directed a welfare package. There's the issue of psychosocial support to ensure that the healthcare workers have a briefing session. Healthcare workers have a way to deal with the mental stress that comes with taking care of COVID-19 patients. So that's a wholesome, comprehensive care in terms of not just remuneration for the healthcare worker. There's the issue of welfare in terms of being able to be treated without themselves basically going into their pockets, and so then insurance provision, and in case of mortality, which we do not anticipate and we wouldn't want to wish upon any of our healthcare workers, is that then there should be the life insurance and a group cover to cover their family who will be left behind. So all those are components of the human resource that need to be taken care of.
Okay, now Dr. Mwachonda, so in regards to KMPDU, how far in addressing all these, what have you done as the KMPDU to address all these issues that you're highlighting?
There've been so much of our efforts in terms of addressing all these issues.
What have you done?
One is, and we'd like to thank the COVID Fund and actually even, I know the Equity Youth Foundation. They are in the process of procuring PPEs for healthcare workers. So that's an initiative that we took to get partners and partners who can support in terms of provision of PPEs for the healthcare workers. We have basically put it forth in terms of employment. We have submitted a database to the Ministry of Health of unemployed doctors who are ready for hiring. The process, I think, of hiring is almost complete. We are hoping that they will deploy these healthcare workers in the next 1 or 2 weeks. So we are also looking into partnerships of also as a union being able to offer training and psychosocial support for our healthcare workers.
Now, so as the KMPD so far, you're mentioning provision of employment towards medical practitioners, towards the healthcare workers, and what else exactly? Because you've just mentioned two, Daktari. Is there any, because you yes, please clarify.
The responsibility of ensuring all these things is not upon KMPDU. That responsibility is upon government.
Yes.
So we are trying our best to advocate and try to cover the gaps. But the main responsibility is not KMPDU's responsibility to ensure that healthcare workers are protected, healthcare workers are in adequate numbers. It is not the main responsibility of the union. The government needs to be able to actually listen, talk to unions, and actually address all the concerns that are raised.
All right. You petitioned that the government should employ more health workers, and you say that there was a shortage of 636 doctors, 1,000 nurses, 360 clinical officers, and 572 laboratories personnel. Is that correct?
I've been trying to correct you since the beginning of this show. And if you read our statement that we gave yesterday, we said that yes, there are plans to set up 300-bed facilities in each county. And the numbers you are quoting are what will be required for each 300-bed facility in the county. And those teams are going to work in 4 and to cover the centers 24 hours.
All right. Well, now, the president had said that the government intends to hire an additional 5,000 healthcare workers with diploma and certificate level qualifications for 1-year contracts. Isn't this a sign of good faith from government and a sign that the government is doing something to help curb and bring solutions towards the complaints that are being raised by KMPDU?
Let me be clear also again that we acknowledge the efforts that so far have been in terms of hiring more healthcare personnel. In fact, we've acknowledged the president in terms of him giving direction, specifically appreciating health workers, giving directive 1 for employment of more healthcare workers right from the beginning, ensuring that healthcare workers are welfare package. The challenge that is currently there is that the directions were given a month ago. They are yet to be implemented. We are yet to see the welfare package and paid. So yes, there are and there has been progress in regards to beefing up the numbers of healthcare personnel. We know that the budget was set. I think early on in April he had set aside 1 billion. And so now that we are looking into expanding our bed capacity, remember the COVID centers that are currently there have borrowed healthcare personnel who are working in the other areas, who are serving Kenyans. So as we speak, service delivery is strained because what you've done, you've taken a workforce that was already strained to take care of COVID patients. And now you want to expand to 300-bed facilities. Then it means you have to bring on board more healthcare personnel.
Yes. Now, even as you look into that, I would like us to touch on the working conditions of healthcare workers. So far, last month, there was a report by the World Health Organization Director General. He said that, that is Dr. Tedros, he said that he appealed to countries all around the world to improve on the working conditions for nurses and medical workers. Now, following this directive and many more that has been given, even the president calling, highlighting on this, so far, has there been any improvement, looking back to how we started till now as we speak? Do you note any improvement in terms of considerations being put to the welfare of the healthcare workers?
So yes, there has been improvement. One is that when we started off, the full kit PPEs were not available, and as a result, what was happening was that there wasn't the right environment in terms of taking care of COVID-19 patients. Of course, the numbers then weren't as high as now. So as I said again, that for the level 3 PPEs, there's been significant improvement. Doctors, nurses, clinical officers, laboratory technicians are able to effectively handle COVID-19 patients. But there is a risk, as I said again, that at level 2 and level 1 for the PPEs, where you're handling patients who are either suspected, who are just normal patients, but perhaps are COVID and they're confirmed COVID later, is where there's a shortage in terms of PPEs. So the situation isn't the way it was 3 months ago. there is progress, but then now we need to quickly ensure that we protect this health workforce that is not in adequate numbers.
Now, in regards to the loopholes that have been that are yet to be sealed, how do you feel we should address the loopholes remaining? You talked about the PPEs and other more workers also being needed. How is it that what is your proposal to government in sealing all the loopholes that still remain?
We put forth our proposals even to the Senate ad hoc committee on COVID-19 earlier on in the beginning of the pandemic. One was that healthcare workers need a welfare package, and that was listened to. And the welfare package should be able to cover health insurance, life insurance. The other issue that we put out as a proposal is that we actually submitted a database of unemployed doctors for hiring. The numbers that we put forth, of course, haven't been considered all, but there has been efforts to hire more healthcare workers. And I think moving forward is, as I keep stressing this, that as we look to expand our capacity and bed capacity, we need to employ more healthcare workers that are available. There are so many healthcare workers who are currently unemployed, and they're available. The other proposal was to provide transport accommodation for those who are seeing healthcare COVID-19 patients. We've seen other countries in Europe, in the US, where they offered accommodation just away from their families to be able to minimize the risk of infection with their family members for healthcare workers. And essentially training for healthcare workers, a proposal we put forth, and also the other one is psychosocial support for healthcare workers.
All right. Now, on the proposal that you had given to the Senate, committee, so far, what are the ones that have been addressed and which are the ones that have not been addressed? Because I'm looking at the funding also at the same time, where you said this, and I quote, "More than a month ago, we have not yet received the monies promised by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. This is not just a concern, but a demand that the government honors its pledge." That was what you said, earlier on. How would you address that?
Sorry, I did not get your question.
What I'm asking, you had given your proposals to the Senate committee, as you said earlier on. What are the ones that have been addressed in your proposal, and what cases have not been addressed? I'm putting into light also what you had, the statement you had given. You say this, and I quote, "More than a month ago, we have not yet received the monies promised by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. This is not just a concern, but a demand that the government honors its pledge." End of quote. That was what you said.
So yes, there was a directive, and that it was a pledge put forth for healthcare workers, and that that package in terms of incentive should be honored, and we'll keep engaging to ensure that we get what was promise to healthcare workers. With regards to the Senate has continuously held sessions to ensure that they keep giving progress, and I'll challenge you to also look at the progress report, the third progress report by the Senate, that actually captured the sentiments and proposals we have put forth in terms of employment of more doctors, in terms of training, and so the Ministry of Health was tasked to actually ensure that the employment, the welfare package, all these things are put into place and now unveiled for healthcare workers.
Considering that, but you've not yet gotten me. When it comes to the proposals you gave, yes, which ones do we have that are in your proposals that you feel have not yet been addressed?
Okay. So the issue that is yet to be addressed, of course, is the unveiling of the welfare package in terms of one life insurance, in terms of if you get a mortality, what happens to the healthcare worker. That one is yet to be addressed, and we are still waiting for them to unveil that. With regards to insurance for healthcare workers, we've seen the Gazette notice by the CS Treasury, and we acknowledged that yesterday even in our press briefing, that then now it's a reprieve and a relief for healthcare workers workers across the country in all levels of government, that they'll be able to get covered and treated through the NHIF comprehensive scheme. We know that the Public Service Commission is hiring more healthcare personnel, and we just urge that they conclude the process in the shortest time possible, because there's burnout and straining of the healthcare workforce as we speak.
All right. You said this, and I quote, "As it stands, our counties are ill-prepared to handle coronavirus pandemic. We ask the counties to speed up the implementation of this directive by the COVID-19 Response Committee." Do you feel that the COVID-19 Response Committee, in regards to the proposals to the county and the county implementations towards these proposals, are well at par as at now? Do you feel that anything is possible in terms of changes?
So let's acknowledge what we said,
yes,
and I'll clarify this. What we said is that we welcome the President's directive on setting up 300-bed facilities, and actually acknowledge that they are going to hold a summit tomorrow. So our appeal to the summit was, as you look into considerations of expanding the bed capacity, equally look into the human resource component. So we all await, I mean even yourself, we all await that the outcome of the summit tomorrow, and we are hopeful that they will put everything in place together for an effective and efficient COVID-19 response.
Have you received the proper funding that you required so far in addressing all these issues, the funding?
Who receives funding? We are a union, so when you ask, have we received, who
the
are
health workers?
In terms of?
You said that you were promised some monies by the SRC. Did you say that?
I think we are going round and round.
Yes.
I mentioned to you, I responded to your question regarding that issue of our welfare fund. And it's common knowledge that what happened is that there was a proposal, we had put our proposal, and then finally SRC came up with the recommendations for payment of additional, the COVID-19 emergency medical risk allowance to healthcare workers. That was in April. We are now in June. It has yet to be implemented. And so what we say was that then it's time now to honor that pledge of ensuring that healthcare workers get that package. Healthcare workers are yet to receive that.
Do you believe your pledge or your call will be heard when it comes to that? You said that was April, we are now in June. Do you believe that your plight will be heard?
Let's give it 2 weeks and see. By the end of the month, we'll have known.
All right. Let's talk about the welfare workers themselves. When it comes the healthcare workers themselves, when it comes to the infections that are there, do we have the sufficiency in terms of the workers that are distributed all across the country? I remember you talked about the need of that being addressed, but now my concern is specifically in regards to the workers' plight. You know, they have been talking about being overwhelmed. How can this be addressed based on your opinion?
Yeah, so addressing that is very simple. We already know that our health workforce is inadequate in terms of even normal provision of services, and now that we have COVID-19, that is a highly contagious disease and requires a separate workforce, then we just need to reinforce. So employment of more healthcare personnel is the only solution to that, and ensuring that you have the adequate budgetary allocation to ensure that the health workforce can actually be engaged, employed, deployed, and trained to be able to reinforce the existing workforce in terms of COVID-19 response.
And based on the existing workforce, there is one thing that you had mentioned earlier, and I would like to touch on that again. There is 1.7 billion shillings that was set aside by government in expansion of the bed capacity in the public hospitals. And the Ministry of Health was encouraged by the President to utilize the Juakali sector in this endeavor. Do you feel that there will be productivity in regards to this 1.7 billion shillings that has been disbursed?
Okay, So basically, that is money set aside to hire more healthcare workers, and of course, if healthcare workers are hired, there'll be a very significant improvement in terms of service delivery.
And in regards to bed capacity?
I mean, those are funds set aside to
Yes.
buy and to be able to procure more beds for setting up the facilities. So since it's being done from the Juakalu, it's a boost to the local economy that is actually not doing well as we speak. And once you have the beds, it means you have the infrastructure, and then now you bring on the human resource aspect. So there's nothing that should hamper service delivery and that if you have the adequate resources.
There are many complaints that you addressed also earlier on, and I'd like to see if at all they were addressed, including NHIF. I remember the KMPDU chair, that was Samuel Okoro, who said that the move to remove the NHIF cover for its members was unreasonable. Its members contributed 1,700 shillings each month. You demanded a comprehensive insurance cover in the wake of this COVID-19 threat. Was this addressed?
So yes, the comprehensive NHIF insurance cover has been in place. What was happening was that the counties were being excluded from actually covering their employees and health workers included from this cover. And as I said earlier, the Gazette notice issued on 3rd of June by the CS Treasury addressed that issue and gave direction and expanded the provision of the comprehensive cover to county government employees, where also a good number of doctors are. And so with that Gazette notice then, and the NHIF now is open to continue offering the service to our members.
In terms of accountability moving forward, how have you seen accountability when it comes to all these plights being addressed?
Sorry, repeat your question.
In terms of accountability, do you see accountability being seen from government and from different stakeholders towards addressing the plight of the healthcare workers?
So I think there are efforts, and the efforts that are there need to be loaded. There have been significant efforts towards ensuring that all issues that come up are addressed. The engagement movements, we keep engaging, and so we hope that we continue engaging to sort out. We cannot sort out all the issues now, because as the situation evolves, more problems come on board, and so we'll keep engaging to ensure that everything is addressed.
Right. Let's talk about the salaries of healthcare workers. In addressing this, so we've seen previously strike by healthcare workers, including nurses, in complaints in regards to the salaries that they have not been receiving. So far, paint us a picture. How far are we in addressing this?
What specifically about salaries? Please be specific.
Salaries being paid to healthcare workers. There was a delay.
So
yes.
Pardon?
Yes, continue.
When you say salaries being paid to healthcare workers, I'm not understanding exactly what it is you're asking.
Let me give an example. For example, we had complaints by different unions talking about urging counties to release salaries, for example, to the nurses, where different counties were not releasing salaries to the nurses. And this took place even 2 to 3 weeks ago. So far, as we stand right now, in addressing this, because this also falls under the welfare of healthcare workers, which the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union also looks at the welfare of healthcare workers. So what is your thoughts in regards to that?
So the reality is that there are salary delays, and these salary delays haven't started during COVID. They've been there for quite a long time. We've never had all counties pay salaries at the same time. We've always had counties that delay salaries. Even as we speak, today is 9th of June, and a good number of counties are yet to pay salaries, and that is why, as a union, the whole issue of welfare for healthcare workers in terms of remuneration, in terms of insurance, in terms of working conditions, terms and conditions of work, we have proposed this to the BBI steering committee, even when it was a technical team initially, that the best way to handle all these issues affecting healthcare workers is affecting up the Health Service Commission to be able to standardize the management of healthcare workers across the country.
All right. When it comes to stigmatization, I remember you mentioned this earlier on. How can we do to address stigmatization that is there in regards to our healthcare workers?
I mean, the stigma is an issue that needs to be addressed more with awareness to the public and education that COVID-19 is a disease, yes, it is highly contagious, but I think as we have seen it as the mortality rate isn't as high, it's around 3 to 5%, and that a good number will recover. So if you take the adequate measures, then the stigma shouldn't be an issue. Of course, for healthcare workers, you need to offer psychosocial support because they're contracting COVID from the workplace and not from the community like the rest of Kenyans.
So far, do we have support that can be given to our healthcare workers that can enable them to have a proper working environment?
That's the responsibility that needs to, of course, government in terms of the ministries, and I know there are efforts to ensure that is provided. So yeah, it should be provided.
All right. We have 81 Kenyan healthcare workers who are infected with COVID-19. Do you see us having a reduced number of healthcare worker infections moving forward?
That will be dependent on provision of adequate and quality personal protective equipment and ensuring that all mitigation measures in terms of reducing the risk of infection to healthcare workers. So if it's provided, then we should have a decrease. If it's not provided, then we will continue having an increase.
Of which, as you say, we are waiting. We are not sure whether it will be provided or not. Doctor, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So moving forward, in your own view, we have been having strike notices that were given previously, even during this COVID-19 pandemic. If these plights that you have given, the concerns you've raised, are not heard, what would be your next step?
We'll keep engaging. When we get to that point where we feel there is no goodwill at all, then we shall give a statement and a way forward.
Do you plan any form of strike coming up in the near future? I remember we even had our healthcare workers suspending their strike 2-3 weeks ago.
Asking me to predict the future in terms of a strike. I have said we are engaging, we shall keep engaging, and we have put it clearly as stated to you that the times we are in, COVID-19, are tough times. So we'll keep engaging to ensure that the issues are continuously addressed. So regarding whether there will be a strike in future, I think that is not a matter that I can conclusively say, because the most important thing is to engage and get the issues addressed as we speak.
What are we doing so far in regards to addressing the vulnerable in the society? Because this is a pandemic and it's affecting different people, but the most vulnerable are at around the red line. We are talking about persons living with disabilities, those in maternal care. We are talking about young children. How do you feel we should improve in regards to protecting the vulnerable?
So the most vulnerable means that the government puts in place adequate social protection measures. I know there have been discussions with regards to offering a basic incentive and cushioning for the most vulnerable. I know, I think it's now public knowledge that the EU has tried to help the government towards giving funding for cushioning the most vulnerable in the society.
And finally, because of the interest of time, what is your final statement this morning as we bring this to a close, your call to action for Kenyans and to the government?
Yeah, so to Kenyans, they should adhere to the mitigation measures, social distancing, wear masks when you're going out in the public spaces, also ensure that you take measures to protect yourself and your families, washing your hands, using sanitizers. So the government, I think, is to meet its pledges it has made to healthcare workers, and this is the opportunity for the government to actually achieve its universal healthcare coverage agenda. COVID-19 pandemic has actually given that opportunity of ensuring that there is adequate financing for the healthcare sector. There is the prerequisite infrastructure set up, adequate medical supplies and equipment, and the adequate numbers for human resources for health to be able to combat COVID-19.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Mwachonda, for your time. We appreciate your feedback. All right, so that is Dr. Mwachonda from KMPDU. That is the acting Secretary General. Doreen.
Well, that's an amazing discussion there concerning our health workers, seeing that they are on the front line in the first fight against COVID-19. Let me just sample some of your feedback. This is on Facebook at KBC Channel 1 TV. That's how you can find us on Facebook, as well as on Twitter at KBC Channel 1 TV. I'm seeing Ali Mansour saying that I'm watching from Hall at Tana River County. Thank you, Mansour, for making time this morning and following up on the conversation that have been happening here at Good Morning Kenya. Antipas Joho says, watching from South Sudan. Thank you also, Antipas, for making time this morning. There's also Yule Tricky saying that he is also watching. And Moses saying that watching from Uasin Gishu County. So thank you so much for everyone who made time this early morning to just watch our conversation, to give in your feedback, asking your questions on the various discussions that we've been having this early morning. We appreciate your time and we appreciate your feedback. That's that in regards to our social media and the kind of feedback that we've had this morning. So I believe that that's where we wrap it up this morning, Ram.
Yes, we bring this discussion to a close. It has been a pleasure being with you all the way from the beginning now to the tail end. My name is Ram Aguko. God bless you. God bless the work of your hands. See you again tomorrow morning.
Right, and my name is Doreen Arange. Good morning.
Virusi vya korona vinazidi kuenea haraka kote ulimwenguni, na kwa sasa hakuna dawa au chanjo ya kuzuia. Husambaa wakati vijitone kutoka kwa mtu aliyeambukizwa vinaporuka akiongea, kukohoa au kupiga chafya. Vijitone hivi hutua kwenye sehemu ambazo mikono hushika na huwezi kuviona, lakini hata kama huvioni haimaanishi kuwa hakuna, na unaweza kuambukizwa unapogusa uso wako, pua, mdomo au macho. Ili kusaidia kuzuia kuenea kwa virusi hivi, sote tunahitajika kufanya mambo matano. 1. Fuata hatua hizi: kuosha mikono yako mara kwa mara na sabuni na maji kwa angalau sekunde 40. 2. Funika mdomo wako na kiwiko wakati wote unapokohoa au kupiga chafya. 3. Usishike uso wako. 4. Epuka sehemu zenye watu wengi. Weka umbali salama baina yako na wenzako. 5. Kaa nyumbani ukiweza, hasa ikiwa una dalili zozote za ugonjwa. Kwa maelezo zaidi tembelea www.who.int.
On the next episode of Corner.
I wanted you to know that I've decided to look into the drugging.
Why?
I know Abasi has something to do with it. Iron my shirts and have my babies.
Can I help you, Simon?
The secret admirer, Mr. Iktena.
What do you think?
Ikiwa unataka kuandika list ya vitu unataka kufanya before you die, they need to be daring, thrilling.
Andika yako.
You fell in love with him. It happened.
Who falls in love with their own brother?
Technically, he isn't really your blood.
Lazima nishike mapema. Nisiposhika hii simu mapema utakasirika. Unajua mimi nikiwa mtu ya marathon najua niko na experience kabisa. Niko na experience. If you don't hurry, you will not break the record. Okay, wacha nishike hii simu.
Kupata lazima nishike, bonyeza *811 *961 hash. Bonyeza *811 *961 hash.
the Juakari operators and others, our saloonists, Mama Mboga, our barbers. Our economy to a large extent depends on you. We cannot allow Kenyans to die because of non-distancing in any sector. So those of you who are carrying out the hair-cutting business in barbershops, in saloons, I am appealing to you today. Ensure that social distancing, fumigation of your working places, masks are used at all times. Just assume that everybody is positive and now deal with that situation. Participation of our citizens in the fight against the disease would be our key success factor.
This morning, the County Outdoor Advertising Control Bill, Senate Bills number 19 of 2018, is in the order of business. This is a Senate bill which has been debated for second reading in the National Assembly, and a question will be put. Members will be voting on whether or not this bill should proceed to the Committee of the Whole House. The County Outdoor Advertising Control Bill is a bill for an Act of Parliament to provide for a legal framework for the regulation of outdoor advertisement in the counties and for connected purposes. Also in the order of business this morning is a motion by the Chairperson, Budget and Appropriations Committee. The motion is on the report on the budget estimates for the financial year 2020-2021. This is for the general debate for the first allotted day. The Refugees Bill, National Assembly Bill number 62 of 2019, is also in the order of business this morning. This bill will be debated for the second reading. The principal object of this bill is to provide for the recognition, protection, and management of refugees, to give effect to the 1951 United Nations Convention relating to the status of refugees, the 1967 Protocol relating to the status of refugees, and the 1969 OAU Convention governing the specific aspects of refugees' problems in Africa. The members of the National Assembly will be debating the report on the budget estimates that this House to adopt the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on the budget estimates for the national government, the judiciary, and Parliament for the financial year 2020-2021, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 4th June 2020, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 221 of the Constitution of Kenya, Section 39 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012, and Standing Order 235 and 239 approves the issuance of a sum. If you're just joining us, the business of the National Assembly is about to begin, and now I will hand you over for this live broadcast. On your screen is the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Moses Cheboy. My name is Edward Kabasa. Do enjoy your viewing.
To behold with your abundant favor as your servants, whom you have been pleased
to call to performance of important trust in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberations in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country, and of those whose interest you've committed to our charge. Amen. Other members, we have confirmed that we have quorum within the chamber and other holding areas, and therefore business will begin.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions.
Under that particular order, we have the member for Kilifi South, Honorable Kitty Chonga, who wishes to present a petition. Are you ready? I am trying to see whether you are within the chamber. Is Honorable Chonga in the house? I don't see him, so we will proceed to the next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Leader of Majority Party.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 9th June 2020, in the morning sitting. Number 1 is a legal notice number 82 of 2020 relating to the Sacco Societies, non-deposit taking business regulations 2020, and the memorandum from the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries, and Cooperative. And number 2 is a legal notice number 85 of 2020 relating to the health COVID-19 restriction of movement of persons and related measures for Mandera County, in bracket Extension Order 2020, and the memorandum from the Ministry of Health. And 3, legal notice number 89 of 2020, relating to the public health COVID-19 restriction of movement of persons and related measures, Nairobi Metropolitan Area, Extension Order number 2 of 2020, and the memorandum from the Ministry of Health. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Now, on this particular order, we have several members who wish to request for statements from chairpersons of various committees. And for good order, I think it would be important I mention all of them so that they will be within, within reach. We have the member for Malava, Honorable Malulu Ijendi. I want to confirm if he is in the House. I also want to confirm whether Honorable Member for Lamu County, Honorable Captain Rueda Abo, yes, Member for Kandui, not Kandui, Wundanyi, Danson Mashako, and Member for Bomet Central, Honorable Ronald Tanui. So let's start with the first one, if he is in the House. Honorable Malulu Injendi, is he in the House? Yes. Honorable Malulu. With a mask, it's very difficult to... Is that Honorable Malulu?
Mr. Speaker.
Okay, proceed.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before I raise my question, Mr. Speaker, I request that you allow me to congratulate Mheshimiwa Wangwe for appointment to the current position, and you, Majority Leader, and the rest of the persons who have been appointed to the positions or confirmed. I want to ask Mheshimiwa Wangwe that as he serves in this new position, he serves diligently, but he should also remember where we've come from, particularly us from Western Kenya, what we went through with the Jubilee. So as he climbs up, he should not forget us, particularly as Nisau Mimi.
Now, Honorable Injendi, obviously your target was your neighbor. Would it have been easier if you consulted with him quietly and asked him to, canvass specifically for what you require from him? But proceed. It's good. I mean, you have had your moment. Proceed.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 44.2c, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Lands regarding tribal conflicts over land along Nandi escarpment at the borders of Nandi and Kakamega counties. Honorable Speaker,